All right. Hey, what's up? Welcome to Social Distance. I'm Bobby Del Rio.
I'm Megan Laursen.
I'm Stephanie Baird, and our guest.
I'm Jess Morton. Hello.
Welcome, Jess. What is that music playing in the background? Tell us a little bit about it. It's a nice ambience.
Okay, so long story short, so I kind of moved in with my boyfriend when this all went down. So basically I'm living in a completely different neighborhood, and my boyfriend is a musician and his roommate is a musician. So his roommate is a violin player. My boyfriend plays bass, but many other instruments. So the reality is now that to sort of help make ends meet, they're teaching all of their students online through Zoom and Skype and all of those other things. So pretty exciting.
Wow, is he teaching right now?
Stuff like this all day. No, he's just practicing. He's just being himself.
He can't get enough. He's like, I haven't practiced enough today.
So you're like you have like a soundtrack for like your whole life, like all the time.
All the time. There's always something going on. Like, so basically I get banished from the bedroom during teaching because I can't just, there's nowhere for me to sit, so I can't just lie on the bed and be like, hello from the background when he's teaching his students, because it would be weird. So I just sit in the kitchen and I have like this little makeshift desk situation for the entirety of me living here. So I don't have a proper place to sit or a desk. I just sit in the kitchen and I'm on my computer all day doing whatever I want.
Well, now I feel like we're in a movie with a full score, and forget watching Contagion. You can just come and watch Social Distance.
Yeah,
wow.
This is my new reality. And there isn't a lot of light, which is my other issue, but I don't really care. So
I like that little phone setup.
Doesn't it get annoying after a while, like hearing instruments like all the time?
No, I'm used to it now because my boyfriend, if I'm just like, I just want to be on my computer for a bit, he's like, so I'm going to play bass for an hour. And so this new thing that he's doing right now is he's working on transposing/transcribing this particular piece of music where it's called lifting a solo, where you take the solo and you make it work for yourself and you understand it and you learn it. And so he's listening to the same loop of music that's like 5 seconds long on repeat all the time, trying to understand how to do it on the bass. So this is fine in comparison to that. So
this is nothing.
Yeah. This is perfect. This is great.
This is luxury.
Okay with this. Yes.
So what have you been doing?
It's not a bad place. A whole lot of nothing. I've been going through the 7 steps of loss, or the 5 stages of grief, or whatever you call it, in terms of readjusting to our current situation. Because for me, I had like I was working 2 almost full-time jobs for leading up to this, and then right before this all went down, I was about to accept a full-time position at the bartending school I used to work at, where it was like salary. I knew exactly what my work life was going to look like every single day, and I was like, yes, I'm finally here. I can afford things again. So then that all fell through, and I was like, what do I do with my life now? Because I was so used to being like doing 110%, sleeping like 4 hours a night, and just doing everything. So I just don't know what to do with myself now. So now I'm cooking a lot. I am cooking stuff behind me, so you can't see it. And I'm learning new things. So yesterday I made oleo saccharum for the first time by myself, which is, it's a bartender thing where you take peels of citrus and you make a syrup out of it by using all the essential oils. So I did that for fun, and learned about that. And then today I made the pickled eggs for fun, and I watched way too many Bon Appetit videos on YouTube. That is my life now.
I hear a lot of people are watching those because Stephanie sent us an article the other day where people are actually burning their houses down. Fire departments are very busy right now. What do you think about that?
I think that's incredibly accurate, because I've been looking for flour in the grocery store for like 3 weeks and I still haven't found any. So that's my reality. But I grew up cooking, so for me, I'm like, ooh, this is just me to enjoy the thing that I normally used to do when I did have free time, and now I have an abundance of it, which is kind of a nice luxury to have. So,
and are you getting the CERB?
Yes, so that's a whole other story as well, but I'll give you the short version. Basically, I thought I could qualify for EI. And for some reason, even though I worked so much, like I worked a lot of doubles leading up to the end of the year, where I'd work like 18-hour days. And then for some reason, the EI people were like, we're gonna officially reject you based on the fact that you don't have enough hours, which is not technically factually true, but I was like, that's fine. I'm sure they just looked at it and said, you don't get, maybe it was like some sort of technical glitch, but whatever. They sent me a letter saying we officially reject you. So I applied for the CERB and I got it in like 3 days. So
Okay,
I was very, very fortunate. I have a bunch of savings put away because like I'm very particular with how I use my money, and I'm like, there could be like, what if I lose my job? I need money for rent. So I have savings for that. So thankfully that sort of was already happening before I got the money for CERB, and that worked out a little bit. But that makes me feel so much better that it was so instantaneous and it was not hard at all to get it. So good job, Justin Trudeau, for getting that together. That was helpful. So I'm fine for the next little while. I'm not super concerned. Now I just have to occupy my time, which there is a lot of. So
how's everybody else doing? You know, so people who are just watching this for the first time, you know, we check in every week, and it's cool. We're sort of making a documentary in real time, and I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, there's this COVID thing is just evolving every week, like really like how it's affecting everybody's lives. You know, like last week I really thought like I shaved and I was like, yeah, things are looking good. And now this week I'm like, fuck it all.
Oh yeah.
Know?
It's a different attitude every single week. I mean,
every day. Yeah.
Every day for me, yeah. Every day it's different. Monday I was like super productive. Yesterday I was like, today I was like, this is an effort just to sit at my desk. Like I don't want to.
Oh, I know you get that feeling of sluggishness, don't you? When you're inside all the time and you just kind of feel tired. Does anyone else feel tired all the time?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. No reason.
I just don't know when to wake up or when to go to bed. And I've actually like, you know, like I have things to do. Like I've created a lot of projects and, you know, this is one of them and some other things, but it's kind of just like doing it to do it, right? It's like, oh, I guess I should wake up now because it's a time, you know?
The sun is up, kind of, maybe. I haven't looked outside lately, but it's there.
It's snowing where I am.
Yeah, I heard that.
It looked like Christmas. You too?
Well, not where we are, it didn't snow because I'm in the West End in Etobicoke, but near where my actual apartment is, it snowed a bunch near the Danforth, and I was like, okay, that's depressing.
I know.
But that's okay.
So that's interesting. So you have your own apartment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Are you paying rent on that?
Yes, but I'm not paying rent to live here.
Okay.
I'm just helping out by cooking for everyone because I have nothing else to do with my time. And being very nice and cleaning a little bit. But basically, so I have my own place, but I have 2 roommates. One roommate is there and she is taking care of my cat, who I never get to see anymore because I'm here. But she's really good with him, so I know he's totally fine. And then my other roommate, who is actually a nursing student, is living with her boyfriend's family. And then they were talking about maybe her coming back to live there so she could go help out because she's a nursing student, so she can at like a long-term care home or somewhere else like that. So that's a whole discussion we're still working out at this point about that.
Last time you saw your cat, did you go to your boyfriend's house straight away when this all started, or how did that work for you?
Well, like, so I sleep here like a couple nights a week just so we can spend time together. And ironically, when I found out I was about to get this promotion, my boyfriend was like, oh, we'll never get to see each other because it was like, my day starts at 6:30 in the morning, I get up and then I go to work and then I'm there from like 8:30 until 5 and then I go home. And because my apartment's way closer to my workplace, it makes more sense for me to stay there than to stay at his place. And now that's the opposite. So I want to say we were just here hanging out when it all went down, and it was just sort of an unspoken agreement that I would basically move in so he would have support. And also he's kind of in the high risk category because he has chronic lung issues. So like, I just feel better being here to make sure he's okay. And that's partly my personal thing about it. And of course we can't see his parents who are out in like Hamilton area, and they're self-isolating too, and it's like a whole big thing. So I've just sort of been staying here. I've gone back like maybe once a week to go make sure everything's okay at my apartment, make sure the rent's taken care of and anything else, and pick up my things. Like the first little while we're like, oh, it's just an extended vacation, we'll just stay here for a couple days. And then the longer it went and the more obvious it was going to be more permanent, I kept going back and being like, I need my computer now, and I need my flavor Bible, which is something bartenders use sometimes, and a bunch of other things that I need to just sort of function day to day. But most of my stuff is still back in my apartment, and I haven't. Yeah.
Something I find really interesting is that, you know, unfortunately, there's been a lot of press and media about like domestic assaults are moving up, divorces are going up, because all these people are forced to spend time with each other, and kind of bad things are happening. But, you know, there's not as much like this, like talking about actually some relationships are getting closer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Something we don't talk about.
Yeah. So for us, like, I'm just going to explain this quickly. I feel like we've been talking so much. But so my boyfriend and I, we spent a lot of time together. Like, my roommates would always say, we never see you because either you're working like doubles or you're sleeping at his place. And I'm like, I know. And then for Christmas, I went with him and his family to Wisconsin, and we drove there, which is 10 hours in a car. And then I stayed at his grandparents' house with him and his family. And it was just sort of like, this is the new normal. This is totally fine. So we're just like used to being around each other a lot and planning our lives around each other. So it wasn't that hard of a transition, really. And also, very, very luckily, we went on vacation to California, actually, second or third week of February for like a week. And we spent like the whole time together. And that was totally fine. And we were very lucky that that worked out and nothing had happened, and that we were able to actually go and enjoy a vacation and spend that time together. So I'm super grateful that that all worked out for us. So it's all been really good. And I think there is a lot of positivity coming out of this in terms of like sort of reevaluating where you are. I've been sitting alone with my thoughts a lot, and it's been good and bad, but mostly good. So, you know, I'm trying to be optimistic coming out of this instead of being like really negative, because that's not good for my mental health. And I have to practice self-care, which is a new thing for me, not having, like, before I had like no free time, and I was just be like, I'll just work all the time and figure it out later. But now I have to sit and figure out what I'm going to do about those things. So it's all positive stuff, and I just have to figure out how I'm going to deal with it personally. So
well, see, this is part of the reason that we're doing the show, right? Is like this is the vision. And you're our second guest, so it's sort of building slowly. But the idea is it's like a community support too, right? It's like checking in with how people are dealing every week. And I don't know. I mean, I was gonna, like I said, I was gonna shave and I was gonna look all good. But here's the reality: like this is what I look like. You know, it's like I'm not shaving. I haven't taken a haircut for like, I don't got it like weeks, and I'm wearing my pajamas. And
you haven't cut your own hair yet?
Because I just did that. Bangs. I've seen that on the internet.
I just had to shave my own head the other day, so
it looks
that was a fun adventure. My boyfriend tried to do it himself, and then I was like, you give me the clippers right now because this looks terrible, and I fixed it. He did a pretty good job, but he wanted to leave a patch of hair like right here and make it look terrible for fun, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
So you just kind of go,
yeah, that's basically it. At some point in the future, I'll probably shave it all off and just be like, I don't care anymore, because who cares? I'm in quarantine. I can do whatever I want.
Why not try it out? And you mentioned self-care. What kind of things are you doing now for self-care? Help yourself get through.
So if you're going to hold on 1 second, I just realized I left something in the oven. So I'm going to go look at that and come right back. It's like 1 hot second. I just realized there's something in it.
You can't fake authenticity.
Exactly. This is real life.
Okay, that definitely has come out of the oven. It's annoying, but you know, Care is fun. So for self-care, I've been doing a lot of making sure I eat properly. That's a big thing. So revisiting like my love of food has been really important for me because so my dad, when I was young, he used to own a restaurant, and so he knows a lot about food, and he's passed that on to me. So food for me, that's why I love Bon Appetit. I was literally watching an episode of Chef's Table in the background before I joined this meeting with you guys on Netflix, because that's how much I love food. And then so like, oh, let's order some nice bagels and I'll make a proper meal. And that's me making sure I take care of myself through food, which is really important because it's really easy to be like, we'll just order out and spend all of our money on Uber Eats when I could spend a third of that and make food for 3 days kind of thing. So that's what I've been doing, being more conscious about what I've been eating and making sure I don't throw away as much food, just to sort of be better at that. And I also knit for fun, like an old lady. So that's something that my boyfriend and I will sort of compromise on time for, where he'll practice and I'll just sit in bed and knit for like an hour. And that helps me reset my brain. I actually started knitting like, I want to say like 6 months ago, as a way to sort of self-care for myself and decompress after a really long day. Because I would go to work at the bartending school from like, I get there at like 8:30 and leave at 4, and then go to work at a bar from like 4:30 until close at like midnight. And that was like my reality for like at least a couple days a week. And then there was a point where I can't remember, I want to say like 6 doubles in a row, like back to back, and I didn't sleep very much. So I would knit as a way to help decompress after a long day, so I can sort of reset my brain and not worry about work and just do focus on this thing. And I like working with my hands, obviously, given my profession. So that's all really important to me.
Let's shift focus a little bit. So one thing that we've been doing every week is really checking in on the world and kind of what we're seeing. And I will say, for me, I've been noticing the grocery lines getting longer and longer and longer. How has everyone been seeing that, like the state of the world and resources? And
I went grocery shopping on Thursday right before the long weekend. And I've actually tried ordering online multiple times, but I cannot book a slot. Like, it's just,
you can't book a slot?
No. I've tried ordering groceries. I've tried ordering from Walmart. I've tried ordering from all these different places, and I can't even book a slot. It's 2 weeks booked up, and then the next slot is like opens at 12:00 p.m. So I wait until 11:59, refresh the page, and it's already taken. So it's like, oh my gosh. So I went to the grocery store, and it was literally like an entire block around the corner. And it was probably like, it just sucked a lot. Like it took, like it would have been like 45 minutes shopping, took like an hour and a half, and I was just so grumpy.
Wow. I'm in a small town, so it's not too crazy. But what I find is they're limiting the amount of people in the store. So what they're doing is there's what looks like huge lineups is actually just because they're not allowing as many people in at a time, right? And so what happens is you're kind of waiting for a while, but once you get in, it's kind of in and out. And it kind of feels a little more clear, like you can maintain that social distance. It gives you that freedom to do that. So that's the great thing about being up here for the time being. How about you guys?
How about Jess? How about you, Jess? Like, what are you doing for groceries? Like, how are you getting food or?
So for me, one of the reasons I was going back to my apartment once a week is I actually am subscribed to like a grocery delivery service that's local to Toronto. That I've been with them for like 2 years. So they're like, oh, thank you for still being here. We want to make sure you're happy. When this all went down, they've been really good about, keeping me updated onto like, this is the measures we're taking to make sure you're safe. This is what we're doing to make sure you get the food that you want, that kind of thing. And I just changed my address to say, oh, actually, I moved. Please send the box to a different address. And so now it's coming to me. It's mostly just produce. So regular things that we need, like, canned beans or tomatoes or other things like that, we have to go to the store for it, but at least we're not getting as much sometimes. I don't know, I always feel like we have too much food, which is a good thing. But that just makes it easier for me, and I'm getting everything delivered here. Like, I've ordered beer twice now.
Wow.
And it was not an issue. I'm supporting local breweries, by the way, because if I want something specific, I can get it from the LCBO, like bottled liquor, but there are a lot of small businesses right now that need our help, right? So I'm like, oh, well, I can support them by ordering from them, and then they have flat fees for delivery anywhere in Toronto, so that's really helpful. So yeah, usually we go in and we're very organized, and I'm like, we have to make sure that we have enough time for this, because it takes a long time to go to the grocery store. In Etobicoke, there's a couple different places we can go to. The one we go to is like this fancy Loblaws. That's pretty good. And they've done a really good job with social distancing, like keeping us all together. But we went on Monday yesterday, which is like the first day it was open after the weekend. And it was a terrible idea because everybody wanted to go, right? So I think everybody's sort of been noticing it more recently because the grocery store was closed 2 days this last long weekend, right? We're all forgetting, oh, it was Easter. There was something going on. So normally that wouldn't be, yeah, we go to the grocery store, it'd be busy, but it's exacerbated by the social distancing measures that are being put in place. So I bet if we went back to the grocery store on Friday, it wouldn't be the same. It would probably be a lot less people. So it's something that, like, it's really easy. I always say it's really easy to freak out over stuff like that, but you got to look at the context, right? Being like, oh my God, all these things. I'm like, no. Look at the information here, approach it from an objective viewpoint, and sort of understand why these things are happening instead of jumping to big conclusions. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's the
I
one
will say,
I'm trying to maintain.
objectively, one thing I've been reading a lot is about major distributors of meat are just shutting down their factories. So it just seems like, if you think about all the corona stuff, right? Like all the distancing that has to happen. Warehouses are shutting down, factories are shutting down, and they keep telling us, oh, the supply chain is unaffected. But like, I live on the same street as a grocery store, and I see the lineups every day, morning, afternoon, night. Like, maybe it's different because I'm in like downtown Toronto. I know Stephanie's downtown as well. But I guess, and maybe it's just a fear, but I go, like, where's the food gonna come from if everything's being shut down? Like, there's also stories that there's all this milk and they're just dumping a ton of milk because they want to keep the prices the same, you know. And it's, the problem is the supply and demand. So we all want to think that nothing's affected, but it's like, well, if all of the suppliers are being affected, at what point does that trickle down to the consumer?
Oh, it's going to.
It's going to.
As bleak as it is, and as much as I don't want it to be true, I almost feel like after this is over, we're going to enter another Great Depression. Just because of the way, if nobody's working and nothing's getting done and taxes aren't getting paid because nothing's getting done and the government has to provide for its citizens, then how are we going to recover from that? I've heard that we only have a week left, I think, not to cause panic, before this recovers. Don't quote me on it. I might not be 100%. I just heard it through the grapevine. But that's a scary
week before
thing.
What recovers?
A week. We have a week, essentially, from what I heard, before everything tanks. I meant. So
we're all gonna die in a week. So everyone, next week will be our last episode of Social Distance.
Well, it will be the last week of the economy. That's for. From what I've heard, this is something my grandmother told me on the phone today.
Grandmothers can never be trusted.
What do you all feel about, you know, the possibility of entering another Great Depression, as much of a theory as it is?
I don't think it's. I think it's very different right now because it's all temporary, right? So once we're allowed to actually interact, we'll be fine. So I think the underlying market condition is actually quite different from the Great Depression. It's just in the short term, it's actually going to be worse than the Great Depression because essentially nobody can do business with each other. Very few people. So I just think once we get through it, we're going to be okay. The issue is how long are we going to be like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how long are things going to take? Well, I think
don't
that's a
know.
good place to wrap this up with a little
A nice, happy, warm, optimistic. The economy will be over in
sprinkle
a
of
week,
hope.
kind of ending. Yeah.
Sometimes grandmothers, their information isn't always accurate, So
Yeah, well, the sad thing is sometimes it is though. So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, the thing is, who knows where this is going to go?
Right. Nobody does. Well, I hope that, you're right, Bobby, and that even though we might tank for a little bit, that we will recover, because I feel that with the technological advances we have today, as much as I am scared that another Great Depression could hit, we might have more resources than they did back in the day to kind of get ourselves off our feet and maybe adapt to a new way of life, just like we're doing now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll find out.
Yeah. And if
What a
not, we
happy
can have
episode
him
of
play
social
a
distance.
sad violin
We all
for us.
talk.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put in a request for you.
If you could, that would be good. Thanks.
I'm sure I could make it work out, but I'm gonna not ask for that right away. I'm gonna ask for happy things first, and then see where we are.
Play the
Yes.
song from Titanic.
Oh no, let's not do that. That's like
Wow.
super depressing for musicians. They all died because they went down with the ship. They wouldn't stop playing for some reason. They're like, let's just keep playing. That's the story.
Bobby's back in his bed.
Fine.
We're all
Hi.
just chilling.
Yeah.
Good conversation.
Okay, so here's something that my friend did the other day. I didn't go. It's, what's funny is that even though I'm quarantined like everybody else, I'm just as antisocial. Like, I've already blown off birthday parties. My family had a little sort of get together thing. I'm like, oh, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. Yeah, I'm too busy.
Busy doing what?
At home. You know what it is? I just, in a way, for me, because I'm pretty antisocial, like I'm an introvert, right? So
Right.
Zoom is almost worse for me because even when I go to parties, it's like I'm talking to one person at a time.
Yeah.
But Zoom is like everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's a little overwhelming.
I can't just like spin off and talk to Stephanie in the corner, right? It's like, well, there's four faces, like,
You go on chat.
You could.
Yeah, good secret side chat.
Yes.
That's right.
Can you?
Yeah, you can.
Oh no, this is changing everything for Bobby. He's
Yeah,
like,
Bobby's
Wow.
gonna do this. He's gonna be talking behind our backs the whole time.
Oh my God, Megan just doesn't bathe, right? Oh wait, did I do the private option? I feel like I did.
Oh no, that was chat to everyone. Oh shit.
Oh.
Oh
You
no.
know, that's
Wrong
interesting
person.
too, though, right? Because what sort of like social faux pas via Zoom? Actually, speaking of Zoom, I keep like it's interesting. So Zoom has changed the way we interact now. Like basically, every way you interact now, you interact on Zoom, and now this whole thing is like Zoom's not safe. Zoom's not safe. They
I
sell your
heard
data.
about that, and I heard they were selling accounts, and I don't know if I believe it. I think it might have been a piece of fake news, but who knows nowadays, right?
Who wants the conversation with you talking to your grandma about her meatballs?
yeah.
Right? Like people are living in fear. Oh my God, if they know about my grandma's meatballs, then everyone will eat grandma's meatballs. It's like so stupid.
No, the secret recipe. No.
Like I honestly, it just seems like some sort of conspiracy theory created by Zoom's competitor.
Yep.
Like, I'm not a big
probably.
conspiracy theorist, but I look at Trump, right? And like, I hate Trump. So if you're a
Don't
Trump
we all?
supporter,
Yeah.
I feel bad for you. But like there's factions of the Republican Party that keeps promote, and now Alberta's doing it too, right? Because the conservatives here, and there's some sort of relationship where they must be making money off of a drug that's not proven to work. And you have scientists publicly saying, do not take this drug. It's not proven. And the Republicans and the conservatives here in Canada are pushing this drug. And to me, I'm going, they're making money off that.
Yeah.
They must be. And, I think were they conservatives in Canada? There were people that were protesting outside social distancing.
No, they're called idiots.
Oh, no. So those are literally people who think that that COVID-19 is a hoax, for whatever reason. And I feel like they maybe are in the same vein as anti-vax people, just maybe. I don't know. Because for them, it's all
Stephanie, wasn't it you who had that article about the church?
Yeah.
You passed along.
Really it's really sad. A pastor that a few weeks ago was basically like proud. He's like, I'm protesting the social distancing because, my religion's going to protect me. I'm in like,
oh no,
in conversation with God, like everything's going to be fine. And he just passed away this week of COVID-19.
He died. He said, God will protect me. I'm not going to get corona. 2 weeks later, dead. And he had like jam-packed, like what do you call them, services or whatever, like.
Wow.
And they were like super defiant. They were like I don't know if you've seen some interviews of some super religious people that are on TV being like, I have the blood of Christ in me and it will not be infected or something. And then it's like they're like dying in droves. It's like, it's really sad. Like,
yeah,
it
super
is.
sad.
And I've seen even people on the internet, Christians, who are saying, oh, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are coming. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Only from Supernatural, the TV show. Just that.
I've been watching The Avengers. I don't know if that's related or.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, Bobby. I don't really know them by heart because I'm a Christian by name. I was born into a Christian family, and that's kind of all that is. But essentially there are signs of an apocalypse and when Jesus is going to come back down and take everyone back to heaven. And I think,
is this the same grandmother that you were talking to?
No, I didn't get this from a grandmother or anything. It's just,
right.
I've been seeing this online, people saying, oh, this is the plague. And before that we had the false prophet and before that we had, I think some people are saying Trump is the false prophet. And I
probably
forget
Trump
the other.
saying that.
He just wants the name prophet.
False prophet ever.
Yeah.
The
greatest prophet that has ever profited
prophet
is me. Yeah.
The world has ever seen.
Okay, guys, no, but the new thing now is Joe Exotic impressions. We're behind the times here.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I got to work on it. I love that show.
Did you hear the Carol Baskin little TikTok thing they've done?
What?
No. What's that?
They have a song that basically there's a Savage song and they've changed it to Carol Baskin killed her husband and whacked him. Fed him to tigers, they snacking. And then teenagers are dressing up as Joe Exotic and dancing to this.
Yes.
I love it. Has everyone seen it? Has everyone seen every episode?
I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Times for sure.
It's funny because during COVID, there's very few shared cultural experiences, and Tiger King is one of the few shared cultural experiences. It's very strange.
I feel like
Tiger King's almost like emblematic of it,
Yeah, it came out at the exact right time when everyone's subscriptions to Netflix are going to spike and everyone's like, what am I going to watch? Oh, well, there's this new weird show about some guy who likes tigers who tried to kill this lady who also killed her ex-husband, and it was a whole big thing. But also there's tigers. Like, that's the show.
I think it's like we all watch Contagion and we're all like, oh, this is our future. We're all going to die. And then we're like, you know what? I'm so sick of thinking about how I'm going to die. Let me watch about this weird tiger guy.
Yeah.
And, it's like during the war, right?
Yeah.
Like Hollywood did really, really well during war because of escapism. Everybody wanted to escape.
Oh, yeah.
So even now the movie theaters themselves are shut down. So you can't go to, but I don't know what those numbers are, but Netflix and Disney Plus and, all these streams, they must be just killing it.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And that escapism is definitely continuing because the Tiger King, I mean, back then it was kind of more happy-go-lucky, happy things that you want to see. Nowadays, Tiger King is just, it's really messed up, and it gets progressively more messed up as you watch it. And you're wondering how these people really exist. And it takes your mind off of it almost because you feel like you're living in a messed up world. Well, look at these guys. You know?
Yeah.
Go outside.
Yeah. Don't go outside. That's where they are. Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, look, I think when we look back, Tiger King is going to be one of the few sort of iconic moments and experiences of this quarantine. Yeah. But I'm hoping that there aren't too many more so that it's sort of short. But, you know, I think there were researchers at Harvard or something they're projecting that this may extend until 2022.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like we can say that now and get all freaked out over it, right? But that's not going to help our state of mind. I think it's very important to, plan for what that eventuality will be, but to take it like day by day or week by week, because everything is changing all the time, right? Like, everybody wants like full answers from Mr. Trudeau, but at the end of the day, he's like, I can't give you a full answer right now because tomorrow a bunch of things could happen that completely change the situation, right?
And not even healthcare experts can give you a real answer on things because you go to these self-checkers of, you know, do you have the COVID-19 symptoms? Yesterday, I watched a video. I don't know if you guys have heard of Anthony Padilla. He interviewed a bunch of COVID-19 survivors, and all of them had different symptoms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and for some of them it was just a dry cough. For some of them it was a high fever. For some of them, and so they were kind of making a point that was very interesting that says all these self-checking websites, it's a good guideline, but they don't fully understand this disease yet because it manifests in different ways for so many different people.
Yeah, well, at first they were saying like diarrhea and indigestion isn't a symptom, but now it is. So it's like for some people it is. So it's one of the first symptoms. So it's like. It's crazy.
And the problem is they don't even know, I mean, anything really, but they don't even know if you can get it again. Because there's some others that suggest that you can get it again, but then some people, it's like you become immune.
So the theory behind it, as far as I understand, is like you get sick, you get better, you have the antibodies to this disease, right? But the theory is you can't be like, oh, well, now I can just go outside again because your immunity might have a finite time. Right? You know, there could be like an expiration date on your immunity, partly because we as humans have never seen this disease before because it's a brand new coronavirus and we don't know anything about it. I watched like a really cool TED Talk, like a short one about this right when this all was going down, and it helped me feel so much better, even though it was all like, we know nothing. But it just sort of explained it in really plain terms that made sense so I could digest that information in a healthy way, right? So my mom's a nurse, actually. She is working on the West Coast in Vancouver-ish area, and she's going to a vulnerable community somewhere isolated up the mainland somewhere. I don't know exactly. She's like described it on a map for me, and now I can't remember where it is. But basically, she was talking about when SARS happened, whereas like COVID-19 is basically like SARS 2.0 in some ways. And she was saying, the things that came out of that, what we know now is from that disease, right? So the way I like to look at this as what do we know now? What changes are we going to make to be better at what we're doing and to take care of people better, right? So there's a lot of things coming up where it's like, these are the things we need to fix. And that's sort of like the positive spin I like to put on daily events to sort of help myself feel better. So for example, you know, sanitizer that we're all running out of, that did not exist before SARS, before the SARS outbreak. That's what my mom told me. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. But I don't remember life before having hand sanitizer within arm's reach all the time, right? So good things came out of that have made us better as a society in taking care of people and how to effectively treat each other and take care of each other, right? So that's the way I like to look at it, to sort of help me feel better about it.
And here's something to make you feel worse.
Oh no, Bobby.
Well,
Why you gotta
okay,
be like
so
that?
again, my initial education before I transferred to theater was economics, right? Everything's business economics, marketing, right? Asian, right? So, um, but so after the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis happened, right? Like our last sort of economic catastrophe,
Right.
which a lot of people, not every single person, I mean, for Gen Z, like maybe they'll remember they were really young when it happened. But for the
I
rest of
don't.
us, like we're getting, yeah, for
Oh,
the
I
rest, well,
remember that.
it was like the worst financial, it was almost like a light Great Depression. Like it was
Wow.
really, really bad across the world financially for about a couple of years.
Wow.
And so I remembered that, and I lived through it like we all did. So, now I'm 42 years old, and I make sure that I have enough money in the bank just in case the sort of bottom falls out of the economy, and then it's like I have to survive. So I have enough cash saved where if I don't need to work for a year or something, like I'm okay, right? But no one else does that. Like very, very, very few. Like you hear all these stats how 50% of North America can only last for a month with the amount of money they have in the bank. So here's my point, right?
Yeah.
And even though people remember the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis, for the most part, you're talking about 12 years ago. So I think there's a human tendency, it's like a recency bias, right? It's like, well, that was so long ago, it'll be fine. Everyone just assumes, oh, the housing market will just go up and up and up and up, and we're always going to have jobs. But the reality is, you have to prepare for bad things to happen. Not that you want to go around being a miserable Chinese Italian prick, but you want to guard against tragedy, right? So I just worry that some of the lessons that are going to come out of this are going to be transient. It's going to be like after 2 months, oh, we're good. And then everyone's just going to go back to like doing whatever. And it's like, guys, like this is the lesson, right? Like, because this is going to happen again.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. There'll be another something. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't control when new diseases and pandemics come out. I mean, it's weird. It seems to happen every 100 years, but there's always something new that comes up in between, It's
but
just,
now remember, we're so much more globalized than the world. So apparently for the Spanish flu, which is, one of the first times that we were a globalized society, was because of the World War, right? Yeah. So you have people from other countries going to which didn't happen. But now think how every day people are going to different countries everywhere. So it's not once every 100 years, like maybe before. This could be once every 3 years, once every 5 years. I'm not going to say that we should live in fear of a pandemic, but I'm saying we have to like change the sort of rituals of society, knowing that we can be impacted in unprecedented ways. Like I think it's incumbent on people to like have money just in case, like protect yourself financially. Maybe don't buy as many things, right? Be optimize your health, right? Most of the people who are dying are like overweight or old, and they have immune system issues. Like there's a lot of things that you're high risk if there's certain kind of ways you're falling, right? So I think that you can prioritize certain things to make it easier for you for the next tragedy to occur, right?
Right. I think now that is probably a better way to end the episode.
Is it?
Yeah, because last time we left it on a little hopelessness. This time we bring a little hope up.
Is it hopeful?
Yeah, I'd say it's hopeful because when there's something to be learned, it's something, it's something to take away. It's something to do better. It's something we can improve on. It's something we can do to fix it. So that's why it feels hopeful, to me at least.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens next week. I mean, I would love for this to be the last episode of Social Distance because it means we can all go outside and dance around or whatever the hell I probably won't go inside anyway, even when you guys. But I do want this to be over because I mean I'm going nuts. I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
That was me last week, Bobby. I was like, I need to get outside, and then I sort of accepted it, and I'm sort of in the new phase. But who knows? Maybe tomorrow I'll have a bad day because it's day by day. Things change depending on how you're feeling or your mindset and all that. So,
exactly.
Just stay positive. That's all you can do is stay positive and take care of yourself, right? The thing we got to remember is at this point in time, the healthcare system is not collapsing. And that is one of the reasons we're doing this social distancing thing, right? So that makes me feel better knowing I have family that works in healthcare to know that they are safe because people, for the most part, are listening. So that's a good thing. Like, look at the silver linings. Don't be sad, please.
Yes. And that's why I think we have so many recoveries in Canada. 7, I think it's a 10-to-1 ratio so far, from what I've heard.
I think it also helps that Donald Trump isn't our idiot leader.
Okay, time to stop recording.
They're listening to us.
I think Putin's listening. He's going to come get you. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God. Anyway, look, we'll see how this evolves, right? Every week is an adventure. To be honest, this has already gotten more turbulent than I had predicted. So who knows where this is going to go. We may look back and be really happy we made this because unfortunately I think this is going to be a really super relevant documentary.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's going to really reflect people's experiences. And thank you again, Jess, for joining us today. It was really nice to have you and hear from you and just talk with you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll come back for another one. This was fun. It was a good way to spend some time. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe we can get a cello next time.
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
So my boyfriend plays the double bass, like the big tall bass. So I can talk to him, see if he can do some bowing for us, if that's possible. We'll see.
That'd be great.
Okay, deal. We're counting on it.
Yeah. Well, I could just be all like, hey, I'll make you a fancy beverage because that's my talent. So I'm not worried. I'll figure out a way to negotiate. It'll be great.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Jess, for coming on today. And if you want to join future podcasts, you can join our Facebook group, which is called Social Distance by Bobby Del Rio on Facebook. And we always post a link in the video description below. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Stay safe, y'all.
Stay safe.